All right, we'll call to order. It's 5:30 p.m. and we'll call to order the Midland Independent School District Board of Trustees meeting on November 9th, 2015. Thanks everyone for coming. If you'll please join me in a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thanks again for coming. And the best part of the meeting, as always, is our presentations, recognitions, awards, and announcements. Dr. Warren?
Board, we have two to recognize tonight, and I would like Jenny Netherland, principal of Abel Junior High School, to come up. Got a really neat presentation tonight, and I want her to tell you about one of our teacher coaches at Abel, because this really does underline the hero for kids, and this is a very neat story. So please, Jenny.
Absolutely. Coach Robert Pipes, it's Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, and I know you think we're actually still there at 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, but we were all the principals were in the office, and I get a call from Coach Johnson on my cell phone saying that a kid was down and they're having to do CPR on them. And so immediately, after football practice, they're still working. So I'm in my heels and I'm sprinting all the way from my office into the football field. And there, Coach Pipes, he was giving CPR to Adon, and he was taking care of him and resuscitated him. I mean, literally the kid was not coherent until Coach Pipes had given him CPR. And so there was multiple complications, where heart issues and dehydration and all of that kind of combined. And literally Coach Pipes saved that kid's life. And I would like to say that not only did that happen that night, and we just need to start calling him Paramedic Pipes, because last Tuesday he was in the locker room with the kids. They were coming back in, and they at a football game, and one of our young men had passed out, and who was just fine, didn't have any kind of concussions or anything. And it was a rare viral infection that had caused him to go into seizures. And Coach Pipes was straight to the emergency. He was taking care of business, had the kid wrapped up, and he had it all under control by the time the paramedics and the parents were walking in. And we cannot be thankful enough for men like Coach Pipes, because he's wonderful with kids. He clearly can think on his feet, and he is one heck of a teacher. So thank you so much, Coach Pipes, for all that you do for Midland.
Robert, come on. Son of an educator too.
That's right.
Robert, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very proud.
Thank you.
Okay, second presentation tonight. We and board, if you remember, and Robert does a great job for us every day as a MISD employee. But initially, this presentation, this prize award was set up to honor our crew outside the district, community members who we feel go above and beyond the call of duty for our children. Mr. Grammer is going to get up, and he is going to tell you of a community member, a mom, That's the most important job, but she definitely fits the bill of going above and beyond for our children. Mr. Grammer, please.
I guess most of you know about our relationship with First Presbyterian Church. They're I almost call them an annex. I said, if we ever pass a bond, we need to pass a bond to build one of those out wherever we build the new high school. They do a lot of great things for us. But every Tuesday afternoon at 4, I guess start about 4:15 until about 9 o'clock, they host one-to-one tutorials for our students. And Lori Boldrick is a big part of that. She organizes that every day. She sends me an email every Monday and reminding me to invite kids to one-to-one. And they serve over 100 students every Tuesday, all afternoon. They feed the students. They have tutorials. They recruit tutors from all over the city who they have tables set up for different subjects so students can go there and work and have a safe place to do homework and get some help and hear it from a different way. We have students now. She's recruited students to do tutoring as well. It's a great program. She gives, and that's just the 5 hours on Tuesday. I'm sure she gives many more hours than that. And we talk about saving lives. And I'd honestly believe this, that even though it's not physically saving, but she's saving lives by helping our students be successful in school. And that's going to translate into some students doing much better than they would have without that support. And we certainly appreciate it at Midland High.
Lori, come on up. Thank you, Lori. Lori, would you make sure to thank all of your volunteers for us on behalf of the board, behalf of the administration? We really do appreciate that.
Can I take one right now?
Absolutely.
Tutors each week?
Well, and I could also say I watched this woman operate, and she really is amazing because she's not only there every day, but she does all this recruiting, and then she gets the tutors together to evaluate and make it a better program. And it's just a joy to work with you, Laura.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Now, this one's kind of a slippery slope because we usually don't let Mary have a microphone. But Mary, where are you? Front and center.
Thanks, Dr. Warren.
Board, you guys know Mary. Mary does a phenomenal job with our wellness program, and she has a very special presentation to make for you.
I do. We wanted to do something within the community to give back for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Did some research, found out about Pink the Basin, keeps money inside the community, and it provides grants for women who can't afford to get mammograms. So it enables them to be able to get early detection for breast cancer. So we're really excited. We sold t-shirts and we ended up raising, we've got a t-shirt right here, $2,000 from t-shirt sales. So I thought that was really cool. We gave 100% proceeds to them. And Debbie Bergen from Pink the Basin is here to accept the check.
Very good. I just want to thank you all so much. Here's the shirt. All the money, like she says, does stay here locally in the Permian Basin and does provide money to pay for the vouchers that all the different facilities that do the mammograms can apply for grants. And that way, I'm a 5-year survivor and a mammogram saved my life. And it's just real important for people to get that mammogram, and no excuse because we have the funding to help them. But $2,000 is awesome. They pay for a lot of mammograms, and we thank you.
You bet. Thank you for all you do.
This is a secret. She wasn't going to tell me, and I have the check here, and I'm going to open that. So this is wonderful. And we appreciate it. It's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Go to pinkthebasin.com. That tells you all the information. Thank you so much. Mary, thank you. Thank you all.
All right, our award recipients are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you would like to be excused, you may do so now. Otherwise, we'd love to have you. Item number 3 on our agenda is public forum. Mr. Garcia, or no, where's Mr. Riggin?
Riggin, Mr. Jones.
Jones.
Anybody sign up for open forum?
No one signed up.
Okay.
All right. All right, thank you. We'll move along to agenda item number 4, district reports. 4A, Texas Accountability Intervention System report.
Mrs. Kale.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. You have in your packet all the information on the TASE report, the Texas Accountability Intervention System, and what we need to do for our campuses that are in school improvement. I'm not going to reiterate what was in the memo, except for one part where the Office of Accountability does recommend that the board goes ahead and recommend a procedure to be developed for revisions without monthly board approval being required. So ask for that when you get to the action part. But just to give you a little bit of a history, this past June, all the campuses in the district participated in a root cause analysis with campus teams to dig into the available data and find out what underlying components were preventing kids from having progress through their learning systems on the campuses. It was a very eye-opening experience in the fact that we moved from shifting blame to accepting responsibility within the campuses and within teaching and learning, and that was huge. We had a lot of people that were involved in those. It wasn't just principals and assistant principals, it was teachers, it was department chairs, campus teacher leaders, interventionists, all types of people. Once we had disaggregated STAR results and our campuses earned their wonderful labels from the state, then we were able to move into the school improvement process. And with those schools, we started developing the school improvement plan, which you have copies of for each of the campuses. What is different this year is even TEA has moved from one section of assigning blame and just going through the process to one of actually looking at what systems can be changed on the campuses to improve learning for everyone. And by making some of the minor shifts that TEA and the Texas Center for District and School Support made, I think our plans this year are stronger than they've ever been. And that, along with our professional learning communities and lead forward strategies, we really have more of a targeted focus. One of the changes that you're going to see within the school plans is that some of them are complete, some of them are not complete. The rationale for that is that we ask 2 questions when we go to the quarterly meetings. Number 1, are you on track to meet your quarterly goal? If not, why not? What can we do to help you fix it? And then second, if you are, what did you do right so that we can share that district-wide? Then the other question we ask is, are you on track to meet your annual goal? If not, then let's look at the annual goal and see if it is definitely what we need to do, if it's something that we can change. Because TEA has now said you need to do quarter 1 and quarter 2 goals. You need to get those set and know what actions you're going to do with those. Quarter 3 and 4 can wait unless you want to go ahead as a campus. You want to go ahead and develop those. You can wait, and you can develop those after the semester. And what that is allowed to do is really give more of a focus on the campuses. An example is that in quarter 1, a lot of our campuses focus their goals on professional development and structures within the campus. And then quarter 2 is based more on tying everything into lesson planning and lead forward and PLC, and how we can use that to increase the collaboration and learning environments on the campuses. So if you see a little differentiation between the school improvement plans, that is the rationale for those, is each campus did it to fit what their needs were on those campuses. So at this time, if you have any questions related around the specific school improvement plans, I'll be happy to answer those.
Given the explanation you just made, does the first quarter or whatever is done in that first quarter inform, or will it inform what goes into the last quarters?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It may just be a totally different focus. And it just depends on each campus on how they.
Some of that might overlap.
Yes, sir. But like what we had to do in the past is we had to develop an annual goal, and each one of the quarters had to match that annual goal. Well, usually in August, you're trying to get school started and you're kind of a little fishy-brained. And so then when April got there, you're like, fishy-brained, I know. But you are. But then when April gets there, you're like, why'd we do that? We should have done something else. And this way it allows us to make those changes. And we haven't had that capability before. So I think they're much stronger plans. I think principals and the campus executive directors would agree with me on that.
The living document that adjustments are made throughout the process, and if the data is telling us something different than what we addressed in quarter one, we can make that adjustment in quarter two.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 4B, Superintendent's Report on Latino Student Conference.
Team, about a month ago, I went to, there you go, Adolfo. About a month ago, I went to Phoenix for a 2.5, 3-day conference, and it was entitled "Eliminating the Achievement Gaps for Latino Students." And when I go to conferences, I don't go to that many, but when I go, I'd like to come and report to you back what was there. And this was probably one of the best ones that I've gone to, and really one of the most important things that the presenter said at the very beginning of the conference was we were going to talk about truly eliminating achievement gaps for Latino students, but all of the leaders of that conference said you can take Latino out of the name of this conference because these kind of things work for all children. And that's what I really like that, to think that. First thing we talked about, and just understand the children that we deal with here in Midland, the first thing we talked about was the actual poverty cycle. Families who are living in poverty, children who are growing up in those families in poverty. And the research shows the families and children growing up in poverty are significantly disadvantaged in education and skills. Those kids struggle to get jobs. Those kids fail to escape the poverty cycle. And guess what? They raise kids in poverty. They raise their own families in poverty. So getting them out of that cycle is paramount for us to be able to move forward. And as a district, we've actually, and we're definitely an outlier in this. We were close to maybe even a little above 50% children we were serving who are living below the poverty level. That number has actually dropped as our salaries in Midland have increased over the last several years because of our economy. We saw our families making more money, but the thing is, that doesn't break kids out of a poverty cycle. That doesn't break families out of a poverty cycle just by getting more money per month for 2 to 3 years. We've really got to keep our eye on this. Here's what the research showed about specifically about Latinos and poverty. 15% of Americans right now are living below the poverty level. For Latinos in the U.S., it's upwards of 25%, and that number is rising. Latinos experience significantly lower employment levels as well as increased risk of health, diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. I didn't know that. I did not know that, specifically tracking our Latino families, that especially the health issues that we're seeing rising levels of those kind of things with Latino families across the United States. And the percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced lunches are growing throughout the U.S., and they are not just locked into the urban school districts, the communities. They are going out to the suburban and even to the rural school districts. Achievement gap was defined about having a definitely disparity on a number of the measures that we use regarding specific performance, whether the groups are with gender, race, ethnicity, language, disability, or socioeconomic status. And you can observe that it's not just about test scores. You can observe it through a variety of different measures as shown in Midland. All right. Here's a neat thing that talked about what kids want. This was a study done by one of the presenters, and this was the 5 most frequent responses given youth about what do they want, what do our kids want from their lives: to belong, to be understood, to live with structure, to live comfortably, and to be loved. That's the kids talking for themselves. So here's what we've started talking about in the district, and because the leaders of the conference went into a lot of detail about, do you have a healthy culture or do we have a toxic school culture? That's a healthy school culture. Basically meaning that we think all kids, and I should have capitalized all, but we think no matter what their circumstances, no matter what their attitudes, no matter what their backgrounds, that all kids will learn, and it is our jobs in life to make sure that all kids get the support that they need, that they can succeed as all. Toxic school culture basically puts everything on the kid. That if we have a kid who commits themselves, if we have a kid whose parents commit themselves, if we have kids who do and follow the rules and do what they need to do, only then should they succeed. That's called toxic. That we're losing kids. Kids will slip through those cracks. So we have been talking a lot as a school district and as a leadership team about what kind of culture do we have, healthy or toxic, and we're doing that per school, per campus. And then our responsibility is that we accept responsibility that we will beat every kid that is responsive to the needs of our student population, and that we will create an institution that will meet the needs of all kids. So what can we do best to help kids who is struggling? What do we do on campuses for kids who are struggling? Do we take the time to know their background? Do we make the time to understand where they live and the conditions in which they live? Do we do home visits? Do we truly read? Do we correct their grammar? Do we correct their spelling? Or do we really read what they've written and understand where they're coming from? If a kid is inattentive, can they even see the board? Can they read the board? Is it a language issue? This was a big thing especially about the Latino population, is the student and older sibling. Are they taking care of their family and thus inattentive because they have more worries on their plate than they need at that young age? Does the kid work after school? Do they have to work after school? And could language be an issue? Are they disruptive in class? Again, is the student involved in school? Do we get them involved in activities other than just coming to class? What is the home environment like? Who does the student associate within and outside of the school district? And then we talked about parent empowerment. And I know Mr. Davis, he and I have had several discussions about truly doing something in the community to make sure that our parents are not just coming up for presentations in the schools, not just coming up for those fun things, but actually being engaged in their children's lives. 7 golden rules for parenting in the 21st century. Family time must be prioritized after technology, and basically tell them to turn their dumb cell phones off and actually talk with each other as a family. Children will emulate what they see. Children must be taught to manage time. Children must be taught how to be responsible. And they have to be taught to make school a priority. Families must promote literacy if it is really to catch on, and mathematics. And then I added that we cannot educate children in spite of their parents. We must educate our children with our parents, hand to hand, shoulder to shoulder. And that's one of the things that we are really kind of trying to take to heart, because I don't think I've done a good job at all setting up really systematic measures and systematic programs to get parents to all parents to involve. We have lived by the old mantra that 20% of our parents do 80% of the work through the PTAs and everything like that. We've got to do a better job, and we have to change as an organization to get them into schools and to get them engaged. Here was the number one thing. It does not matter where a kid come from. It does not matter what their race is or their socioeconomic status is. If their parents involved, the kids are going to achieve more, no matter what their background is. Parenting in the 21st century is absolutely essential to student success. Schools and districts must initiate a system to fully engage parents in the learning process. Parents will need not to be informed, but empowered to make learning and success in schools one of the most important things in their homes. And not all parents, I mean, we talk about differentiating instructions all the time with kids. Same thing goes for parents. Not all parents will need the same program. It's not hard to get some parents up, but it is hard to get others. So we don't need a one-size-fits-all program. We've got to do a better job of understanding the parents themselves and being able to move forward. So talking about institutionalizing our practice it basically boils down to, when do the parents really see us? You know, how do they see us? Every morning, every afternoon? Where do they see us? How do they hear us? And how do we tell parents that we care? As a school district, how do the parents know that we care about their children, that we care about their families, and that we care about them coming up to school? How do we do that? Those are the things that we're going through right now. So our questions, this is what we came up with. How do we assess our school plans for parent involvement? How do we truly use those school plans that you approved last month to really get parents up? And I'm going to start having principals come up and do a series of presentations for you in the coming months, because we have some principals who are just knocking it out of the park, getting parents up and getting parents involved. What are the practices, policies, and procedures that are put in place right now that are roadblocks? Leah is dealing with multiple regulations right now, even our policies that have actually put some roadblocks up for parents to actually come up and be around their children. We're changing that. We're actually changing regulations right now, and could very well come to you with policy changes, recommended policy changes that we feel are not conducive to getting all parents up. Again, where they see us, hear us, and a sincere effort to build relationships. Do our parents know what our schools expect from them? Do we truly communicate with our expectations for our parents in our school district? What will our principals do with the first 6 weeks grading reports? How do we communicate? And I did this at the very end of the first 6 weeks, but our second 6 weeks report cards are coming out next week. What kind of communication are we going to have with parents? What kind of good jobs are we going to give with our parents and the kids who are doing a phenomenal job for us? But those kids now who have failed multiple courses for the first 6 weeks, how are we going to communicate with that parents? Are we going to bring the parents up, or are we going to go to the parents and communicate, hey, here is your student's report card. Here's what we have to do better. Here's what your student has to do better on, and having those kind of relationships. Which parents are we targeting? Which are the ones? And again, my wife went to the Lee open house about a month ago, and she saw the same 75 faces that she's seen for since the kids were at Abel. We have to get more parents involved in say. So we've got to target themselves. We can't just say, well, if they're not there, it's their choice. We really can't do that as a district. And then how are we losing those academic programs that we say we believe in, and how are we going to use those to initiate parent involvement? So I just wanted to briefly tell you about it. Was a really, really good conference. I've got one more conference I'm going to go to in the spring, and that's put on by the College Board, and it actually talks about challenging Latino students on the other end of the spectrum, our APs, our dual credits, our GTs, and that's going to be a really good thing for me as well. So I was excited about this conference. We've been talking about components of this conference for quite a while now. Joanna sent many of our bilingual ESL staff to this conference. We had building principals there. We had assistant principals there. It really was a good way to start off the school year to really get kind of honed in on what we need to do better. So just wanted to give you that report. Questions?
Yeah, can you give us an example of a roadblock that we have?
I'll give you a specific one that Leah just worked on. For whatever reason, we have parents living in Midland who are undocumented illegal aliens. Okay. Now, the Supreme Court has not changed their mind that says if any child lives within this school district, we're going to educate them, no matter what the resident status is. But our principals do a phenomenal job every single day of keeping our campuses safe. And we have very set processes of what parents need to bring up every day to make sure that we've run the software packages, that we do not have sexual predators on our campuses or anything like that. But when a parent comes up and does not have a state or a United States or a state of Texas ID, our own policies and procedures actually blocks that parent. They may have birth certificates, they may have consulate IDs, they may have every bit of information that we need to have to run the security measures, but because it's not a state or a United States ID, we've blocked them. And so we've got to do a better job of understanding, okay, not every parent may be here with the same kind of information, but notwithstanding, we still need them involved. We still, that child may be here for the rest of their educational lives. We've got to get that parent involved. That's a great question.
Other questions? All right, thank you. All right, next on in financials, they begin on page 4 of our packet. Are there any questions about any of those? If not, the list of bills begins on page 12 of our packet. Any questions about those? All right, then we'll turn to item number 5 at 6:01 p.m. and I'll call to order the public hearing on the Texas Accountability Intervention System report. Is there anyone that would like to address us about that report? All right, we'll conclude the hearing at 6:01 p.m. and move to item number 6, our consent agenda items. 6A, minutes of our regular board meeting, October 12th, 2015. Also, our minutes of the special board meeting, October 26, 2015. And last, our budget amendments and transfers. All those items begin on page 62 of our packet. Do any of those 3 items need to be pulled for any reason for further discussion? All right, hearing none, those will be deemed approved by consent. Now we'll turn to our action item 7A, discussion and possible approval of school improvement plans as detailed on beginning on page 68 of our packet.
Team, I'll underscore what Mrs. Kell told you in your report. We have building principals who are doing a phenomenal job truly digging down into the data and making decisions based on that. And I really do appreciate their efforts and the efforts of our entire TNL and executive team. I would recommend approval of this year's school improvement plans.
Motion by Mr. Bishop. Second by Ms. Nicholson. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, item 7B, discussion and possible approval of the 2015-16 district improvement plan. That plan begins on page 146 of our packet.
Team, Elisa's memo on this is on page 146. Patrick, any comments on the processes and the plan itself for this year?
We always work very closely with our DEICs on our district improvement plans. DEIC has representation from all of our campuses. We've presented this information to them, and they have given feedback to us, and so we've made some adjustments. I also recommend approval. Do you have any questions or comments specific to the document itself?
Any questions for Mr. Jones?
The information that's included in this packet relative to TEA, in the reporting of student progress, you know, we've always had, and it's bugged me, I don't know about anybody else, those asterisks where there are no statistics reporting on the students' performance. Something in there relative to these particular students are masked.
Oh, so if there's a particular campus and or student population that has 5 or less students, we typically mask that information because there's such a small group of students, they can be identified.
But my question is, does that give us a totally accurate indication of what we're doing as a district relative to all students going to the emphasis on all.
Because
Are
we
getting
mask it.
Inaccurate report.
No, because we mask that information for the public, or because they do, does not mean that we do not follow and track and investigate every student at all of our campuses. So as a district, as an MISD district, Midland Independent School District, we do focus on all students and every student group, no matter if there are 2 or 3 or 220.
How are you going to communicate that to the board?
On how we're doing with those particular student groups. In our internal accountability, whether it's in our district improvement plan or campus improvement plans, whether it's in our TASE progress plans, school improvement plans, you need to know that, yes, we are tracking every student group as well as every student in our district on their progress. And we have a specific focus on whether every child is meeting and or exceeding progress. So when we report information out to you, we're touching on every student group in the district. If I'm following your question correctly.
Okay, I believe.
We make sure we mask that information so that students aren't identified.
Well, the
publicly.
end result hopefully will be that we'll see student performance rise significantly.
That's our goal. That's our predicted outcome also.
One thing I want to talk to you about, board. Everybody go to page 149 in your packet, please. This, about halfway down the page 149 actually gives you the board goals that have been adopted. Got them? Okay.
Yeah.
The board goals that have been adopted, and board and Jeff, you were not part of developing these goals. We're gonna spend this spring discussing, and even better so budgeting for a true strategic planning process. I've talked to you about that before, and so these have been very good goals for us, but these have been our goals for quite a while. And I really do think, and especially driven by the strategic planning process, creating a new set of goals. Your district improvement plan is totally wrapped around these 7 goals and how we will address these goals. But I really do recommend, as a board, as a administration, and as a community, that we look at new goals to really get us moving forward to a new reality academically here.
And even though as a T&L department, we definitely use the 7 goals to guide our daily work, we have decreased our teaching and learning goals to include 3, to bring more focus to our scope of work and our daily work. And that's increasing student performance, closing the achievement gap, and having safe and welcoming campus environments. Those 3 things we feel encompass the work that needs to be done from a T&L standpoint. So we would hope that as we go throughout the year and we get ready to develop our strategic plan for the entire district, we would look at those goals a little bit differently, and what can we consolidate to and create a system where less is more, so that if you go out to a campus right now, teachers can't really tell you all 7 goals. But if we reduce that to encompass maybe 2 to 3 goals, that everyone in the district can kind of come together, agree, and completely understand the direction we're going as a district. So as a T&L department, we are focusing on student performance, closing the achievement gap, and of course, safe and welcoming environments.
Board, I'd recommend approval.
Motion by Mr. Bishop. Second. Mr. Robnett, any discussion? Further questions? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Action item 7C, discussion and possible approval to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance of Midland Independent School District tax and revenue anticipation notes and containing other matters relating thereto. Follow up from last month.
Team, on page 227 is David's memo to you. Just as a reminder, last month you voted to give us permission to seek bids. David and his team did so. We received 3 Frost Bank, Bank of Texas, and Prosperity Bank did a really good job, all three. And David's recommendation is to, if you look on page 228, on the fees that would be associated, depending on the amount of money we might, and let me underscore might, borrow, those would be, and Frost Bank did come out ahead of everyone else. Please remember, and this is only a safety net. In fact, we received very good news just today. Our appraisal district certified that we've got about $3.2 million of tax money coming in this month. So people are paying their taxes, and as long as that stays up, this will never come into play. But this decision actually gives us the safety net to be able to do so if we need to meet the monthly obligations. Right now, we are financially solid. We just want to make sure that we continue to do so. So I would ask you to approve the bid from Frost Bank to purchase for the Tran if need be.
If need be.
If need be.
Motion by Ms. Nicholson, second by Mr. Fuller. Any questions about this safety net plan of action? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
All right, action item 7D, discussion and possible approval of personnel appointments. The recommendations begin on page 253 of our packet.
Team, I'd recommend approval, subject to assignment.
Motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Robinette. Any questions, discussion?
How many teachers are we now?
We're still at about 50, James.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, it is 6:12 p.m. and at this time we'll go into executive session for consultation with the attorney regarding personnel matters and real estate matters pursuant to sections 551.071, .074, and .072 of the Texas Government Code.
School crew, if I do not need you, which I always need you, you are dismissed.